historic libraries and also the Central Library of Westchester County. We've been engaged in library work since as far back as 1896. We received our charter from Melville Dewey and by the state of New York. So on behalf of the Library Board of Trustees, the library staff, and also the community at large, the city of Mount Vernon, we would like to welcome you here to this event today. We also partnered with the DeCypher and also Black Westchester. We pretty much are ongoingly engaged with these entities, which are great. They usually come out and support at any and all costs. So we appreciate you. The Mount Vernon Public Library appreciate you, and we'd like to continue our partnership. Part of the DeCypher series is a lecture series that aims to entertain, engage, and enlighten the audience. And so what we have here is going to be talk about something that's very, very important, which is, in my mind, and studying a little bit about history, perhaps the professor here can tell you more about it, to look at the country Haiti, the island at one time called Hispaniola. Look at that particular island and look at the dynamics, the social dynamics, the economic dynamics, as far back as 1804, or even prior to 1804, when the French were in Haiti, when the British were in Haiti, when the Spaniards were in Haiti. Our Haitian brothers actually had to fight 3 different fronts with various different armies and defeat all of those different armies. So when you're talking about Haiti, you're talking about fighting. Haiti was the second most successful revolution in the New World as we know it. And maybe Doc, I'm wrong, but as far as I understand, the most successful. So if you read books by C.L.R. James, the Black Jacobins is a very important word, talking about those who rebelled against the establishment of the Enlightenment in France. It's very important to understand. And so, the good doctor is going to actually talk about who's Castro Desroches, meaning the rock.
Yes.
The rock.
Desroches.
Yes. Meaning the rock, which is very important. The rock where the castle has stood. Very important name. Dr. Castro is going to talk about the impact of Baby Doc and the impact of individuals going against the regime in such a way where they gather in and doing counterinsurgency against in their own country. So he's well educated, taught for 6 years in Haiti, taught for 16 years in the United States at Nassau Community College. He has various books in the back in both English and French, so you know he really knows his stuff. And so, just to give you a background, relocated to the United States as far back as 1985, continued working as an instructor in social studies in the Haitian school system by undertaking a program advanced at the Brooklyn College and at the City University of New York Graduate Center. And for the past 16 years, he's been consistently working to educate and inform others in the community at the college. His books is an attestament, 5 great books in the back. We hope that you actually purchase those particular books. We're going to actually purchase some books to have them housed in the library. I'm having somebody in the back work on a PO right now for you, because we really need to think in terms of our studies from an international perspective. Because when you think locally, you have to think international, and everything impacts each other. It's like cross-pollination. So without further ado, I'm asking the professor to bless us with this information. Thank you.
Thank you very much for such presentation. I'm very, very happy to be here back in Mount Vernon, because Mount Vernon was my hometown when I arrived in the US as an immigrant in 1985. This is where my only child was born, and I take the opportunity to thank my very good friend. We go way back 40 years in Haiti when he was a young teacher and I was his mentor. And when I came here, he invited me. It was a small room and we were three, himself, myself, and my girlfriend at the time, who became my wife and the mother of my child. My son, Castro Desroches, also is a great artist. He was invited to come. He was born at Mount Vernon Hospital, and I'm so delighted to welcome him and to welcome you, to welcome his girlfriend also, to come to the iconic city of Mount Vernon to attend that presentation. So as it was mentioned, in the past 6 years I've been very active writing and publishing, and I had the support of my son also because he's always the one to do the covers of the book for me, and he helped me a lot with the publicity. I wouldn't be the writer that I am without his support. So today I want to talk a little bit about my journey as a writer, and I've been writing about Haiti. What is my approach to writing? And I have a tendency to write humor, and how do you reconcile humor with the tragic situation in Haiti? So the theme of that conference is writing about the Haitian tragedy. Lately, in the past 4 or 5 months, Haiti has been in the news a lot for all the wrong reasons. On July 7th in the morning, the president of Haiti, Mr. Jovenel Moïse, who was no angel, he was assassinated brutally. A very gruesome act at his private residence on July 7th. A few months later, Haiti had to go through another tragedy. It was an earthquake of magnitude more than 7.2 that affected the south of the country, and hundreds of people died and millions of dollars of damage in that poor country. Remember, about 11 years ago, we already had another earthquake that affected the capital city of Port-au-Prince that killed 250,000 of people. About 400,000 people were affected, became handicapped, and it was really a disaster. A few weeks actually after the earthquake in the south of Haiti, we had another tragedy at the border of Mexico and the United States. Hundreds of migrants, Asian migrants who were living in South America, especially in Chile, they crossed the entire continent, Central America, and they arrived in Mexico, and they were under the impression that with the new government, the Democrat government in the US, the policy towards immigrants would change, and they show up at the border, and this is how they were greeted. You know, we had in the newspapers images of cowboys chasing, Asians, as though we were going back in time at the time of slavery. These images were very disturbing, and nothing really has been done to change the policy towards these immigrants. And in the past few weeks, after September, October, November, and December, the situation in Haiti has been getting worse. We have a lot of gang violence. We have a lot of kidnappings. Kidnappings that is becoming one of the fastest segment of the Asian economy. You understand, a lot of people in the ghettos, this is how they make a living, by kidnapping people on a daily basis. And even foreigners, even American citizens who in the past were kind of protected because they were afraid to kidnap a foreigner because they know that the government, American government could intervene. At this point, they don't care anymore. A few weeks ago, about 20 American citizens were captured, and 4 of them have been freed, and at this moment, 16 of the people who were kidnapped, they are still in custody. And when we talk about kidnapping, we are talking about people in the ghetto asking for a big amount of money. You get captured, and then they ask your family members for $1 million. All right, that's how it works. For example, they were asking $17 million to release the American citizens. Here we have a caricature that was published, and we have the main gang leader in Haiti. His name is Jimmy Cherizier, and his nom de guerre is barbecue. All right, that's the name. So,
barbecue?
Barbecue, that's his name.
Okay.
Very good, because he has a reputation for burning his victims.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, the question that we could ask is, what's wrong with Haiti? How did the first black republic become the most troublesome and the poorest country in this continent? Because Haiti has always had that reputation, the first black republic. This is the only time in history that black slaves were able to create a country. It was not done before Haiti. It was never done before in this continent and around the world. So the history of Haiti is unique. When we take the American Revolution, for example, it was done by the slave masters. A lot of, the fathers of that revolution, they had slaves. But in Haiti, the revolution was a revolution from below. And the slaves are the ones who initiate that revolution. So Haiti is the country where blackness stood up for the first time. Black lives matter. Black Lives Matters. This is Haiti we're talking about. Before Barack Obama, before Dr. Martin Luther King, before Malcolm X, we had Haiti. Haiti was a pioneer in the restoration of blackness, of the dignity of black people in this continent. Haiti was the mecca of blackness. Another question we could ask is, instead of saying what's wrong with Haiti, we should ask maybe a better question. What's wrong with the US policy in Haiti? Because we have the impression that for the past 200 years, there has been a lot of hostility from the US towards Haiti. Is it hostility or is it misguided policy? We let the question open. Maybe that will be the topic for another conference. This is not where we're heading today. But when Haiti proclaimed its independence in 1804, people here in the US, they were not excited about it. You know what I'm saying? They felt threatened by that. I mean, it was really scary to see black slaves, you understand, uprising and creating a black republic. And having victory, just like it was mentioned, not only over France, but over England, over England also. So the policy of the United States toward Haiti has been very, very tough. To understand Haiti today, we cannot go all the way back to the independence. If we want to start, at a later date, we can say that if you want to understand Haiti, you have to go back maybe to 1957. 1957, this is the turning point in the history of Haiti. This is when medical doctor François Duvalier, aka Pap Doc. This is when he became the president. And he was going to change the course of history in Haiti. This is when we were going to experience a degree of violence that we have never seen in the history of this country. So it was a Sunday, September 22nd, 1957. This is when Pap Doc Duvalier acceded to power. Before Duvalier, before 1957, Haiti was the typical Caribbean island paradise, island resort, not too different from the Dominican Republic, not different from Cuba, not different from Jamaica. As a matter of fact, Haiti was one of the best destinations in the Caribbean. Haiti had some kind of identity. There was something fascinating about Haiti, the first Black Republic, and to go to Haiti, to enjoy the carnival, to go to a voodoo ceremony, you know, and to enjoy that French and African and Creole. So it was, a lot of people were going to Haiti, a lot of important people, actors, writers, it was their destination. For example, we had people like Langston Hughes, who was a friend of Haiti. We had Aimé Césaire, who was born in Martinique, and is a towering figure in Caribbean literature, maybe one of the most famous writers in the Caribbean. He went to Haiti, he taught in Haiti for a few months. Haiti was the place. You understand? If you were going to the Caribbean, you had to go to Haiti. That was Haiti before 1957. In 1957, at the time when the elections are taking place in Haiti, we had some very good candidates. The period after the American occupation of Haiti, the US occupied Haiti from 1915 to 1934. After that period, after 1934, we had the best generation of writers and thinkers and intellectuals in Haiti. It's almost like the American occupation had an impact, and Haitians felt so insulted, you understand? And it was a rise in their consciousness. And we had the emergence of a new generation of powerful intellectuals. And it has been said that it was the best, la crème de la crème, like a dream team of intellectuals that emerged after the American occupation. And among these intellectuals, we had some candidates. The three most famous candidates in Haiti in 1957 is, first of all, we had Clément Jumel. He was a technocrat. He was an economist who was educated in the US. The kind of technocrat who could have played a very important role as a president, because you know, Haiti is a third world country, and to have someone who's knowledgeable in economy would have been a great thing. Another candidate that was very, very flamboyant and very famous at the time, the guy in the middle is called Daniel Fiolet. He's probably the guy with the aura of glory. He has a sense of humor. He's a great speaker, you understand? And he's very popular with the masses in the capital city of Port-au-Prince. But one thing about him is that he's like a populist. This is someone who cares a lot about peasants and workers in factories, and is not perceived. He's seen by the US as a socialist. This is a danger, you know. And the third gentleman that we have here is Louis Desjois. He's from the traditional, let's say, mulatto aristocracy. This is a guy who studied agronomy in Belgium. So he belongs to the upper class. He's an entrepreneur. He's a very successful capitalist. And this is a guy who also could have played a role in the modernization of Haiti. However, the least likely candidate to become the president became the president of Haiti, François Duvalier. Even though François Duvalier was an intellectual, he was a medical doctor, but this is somebody who was very shy and very reserved, some kind of like a shadowy character. You know, you don't know what he's thinking. He's not a speaker. Even when he goes to meetings, he's not going to be speaking, all right? So François Duvalier is seen by many as an outsider. He doesn't have the eloquence to become president of Haiti. But 1957, he's going to be selected by the Haitian army to become the president of Haiti. Even though for the first time in 1957, we were having what we call free election. Everybody was invited to vote. But the one vote that matters was the vote of the army. And when they asked the chief of the army, Cabral, his name was Cabral, when they asked him, why did you choose this guy? Why him? You know what I'm saying? Why you selected the worst candidate? And he said, I'm a soldier. I just do what my boss asked me to do. And when he said my boss, he was referring to his boss, not in Haiti, but in Washington. In Washington, this is the guy that they wanted, and I just obeyed. And of course, Cabral, just a few years later, he was going to be exiled by Pap Doc. He was going to pay the price. So, starting in 1957, there was a dramatic change in the history of Haiti. Some people say often that power corrupts, you know, but with Pap Doc, the violence didn't start when he acceded to power. Pap Doc was a violent man before he got into power. You know, he had his henchmen already, he had his boogeymen already, and they were dropping bombs already in Port-au-Prince. At one point, François Duvalier had to go into hiding before he became president, because he was perceived by many as a terrorist. All right? So, basically, in my books, especially the last book, Tales from the Island of Pap Doc, I compare the accession of Pap Doc to power to COVID-19. Because, starting with Pap Doc, we started to have what we call social distancing in Haiti. Haitians are very, very friendly people. I was born in a place called Martissan, a few kilometers from the capital city of Port-au-Prince. And in my community, it was like a big tribe. You see what I'm saying? We had that sense of conviviality, living together. You know, everybody is like, it's like a big family. But when Pap Doc acceded to power, people started to pull apart. Why? Some of them were supporting Duvalier, the others were not supporting Duvalier, and at one point, a gathering, such the gathering that we have today, would be perceived by the government as a conspiracy to overthrow the government. You understand? When I was a kid, I'm not sure if it's true or false. It was said that in order to organize a party at your house, you had to go to the precinct to ask for authorization. Because if you have a gathering of, let's say, 20 people, the government is going to think that these people, they are conspiring to overthrow the government. So, social distancing. At the time, if you are a supporter of Duvalier, even if you are a friendly person, you stay away from other people because you don't want Pap Doc to know that you are being friendly with rebels. Confinement. Starting with Duvalier, people started to be very afraid. It's almost like the air outside was saturated with COVID, you know, and people started to be afraid because when you go out, you don't know if you are going to come back home. I can give you an example. I mean, I was living in Martissan, and the school where I was going to, the director of that school, he would never go out. You would always see him at the school, or he would be sitting outside, but you would not see him walking around. You know, maybe in my lifetime, in many years that I live in Martissan, I saw him once. It was a miracle to see him passing in front of my house. It's almost like he was living in a home detention. You see what I'm saying? Confinement. You have to live into hiding. Political mask. Under Duvalier, you had to wear a mask. You understand? You had to pretend that you are a supporter of the government. Even if you were in the opposition, you had to pretend that you are from. You cannot be neutral. At my house, for example, in Martissan, even though we were against Duvalier, we had something just like this at the door. So if the tonton macoute, if the boogeymen, they come to the house, they can see, oh, they are supporters of Duvalier. So we don't have to do anything to them. You know, you have to wear that mask of being, you know, for the government. Yeah, so the difference between previous governments and the Duvalier regime was that we always had a dictatorship in Haiti. We always had authoritarian government. Yes, of course. But with the arrival of Pap Doc in power, it was a big change because Pap Doc understood that he cannot rely on the army, you understand, to maintain himself in power. Okay, he has to have his own army. That's when he created, okay, like his own death squads, his own boogeymen. They wore like a blue uniform, and they were called the tonton macoute, and I call them the men in blue. You know, very fierce characters. All right, and they were everywhere. They were everywhere in the streets. Sometimes they had their machine guns, sometimes they had a pistol, and the one who were too poor to have a weapon, they would carry their machete, you understand, in the street. It was a very, very intimidating situation. Let's see. Okay, very good. So, François Duvalier is someone who arrived to power in 1957 with one goal, just to keep power, to maintain power for as long as possible. He had nothing else in mind, you understand? And he said it himself. I don't want to see anybody in front of me, except I don't want to see anybody in my path except myself. So, 14 years after his arrival to power, okay, he was very sick. It was 1971, and he decided to pass the power to his son. But the son is 19 years old, you know. So I call him, his name is Jean-Claude Duvalier, I call him Claude 19, just like COVID-19, you understand? Because he's just a kid, like a fat kid, you know, who's living a life of privilege, never worked in his life. And now, he is president for life. He hates that idea. He doesn't want to become president for life. In his pictures, you can see these two pictures. You have his father presenting him to the public, you understand? And in the pictures, he appears to be very upset. Why me? Why don't you choose my sister? My sister is smarter than I am. You understand? She's older. She has more experience. She likes power more than I do. This boy is 19. He's a playboy. You understand? He has a life of privilege. He doesn't want to become president for life. When the idea of Jean-Claude Duvalier, the 19-year-old boy, becoming president for life of Haiti, when people heard about that, they were surprised. The Asian ambassador of Haiti in the US was asked by a journalist, is it true that Pap Doc is going to select his son as president for life? And the Asian ambassador in the US said, no, the president is not crazy. But a few weeks later, he was removed from the post, and Pap Doc introduced his son as the next president for life. While I was a teenager in Haiti, I experienced the impact that the United States, the positive or the negative impact the US can have on Haiti. What happened? In 1976, Jimmy Carter, the pastor, was elected president of the United States. And he came with a different policy, human rights, protection, defense of human rights around the world. You understand? And the government in Haiti, I mean, that young boy being president for life did not suit well with Jimmy Carter. He wanted to do something about that. And remember that the US wants to get rid of Cuba also, communist Cuba. And how can you blame the Castro regime when you are supporting, you understand, the incompetent and violent regime of François Duvalier and Jean-Claude Duvalier? You don't have a case, okay? All right, so what happened, so Jimmy Carter initiated a new policy towards Haiti. And he selected Andrew Young, who was ambassador of the US in the United Nations. Andrew Young is a very prestigious man. This is a man who was involved in the civil rights movements in the 60s with Dr. Martin Luther King, all right? And he's going to send Andrew Young in Haiti to speak to Baby Doc. To do what? To stop the bloodshed. You know, things have to change. We cannot continue accepting, you know, the repression, the violence that is taking place in Haiti. We have to find a path to democracy. And can we have democracy when the president is for life? We have to have elections. What? Okay. So it's a very difficult situation. The American government, they have no major problem. They want the Duvalier, but president for life, you know, it's a little kind of old, you know, regime. We would have to find a way to change things. A few years later, in 1986, after 29 years in power, it was the end of the Duvalier regime. On the night of February 7, 1986, an American plane, went to Haiti to pick up, you know, Baby Doc Duvalier and to take him to France. And Haitians were very excited about that. I mean, all over the world, whether we were in, you know, Miami or New York or Boston, you know, and France, Haitians were delighted. Finally, after 29, the long night of the dictatorship. And they thought Haiti was going to become a new country. It was like a new independence. It's a new era in the history of Haiti. However, what they did not understand, it was Duvalierism without Duvalier. You understand? We were under the illusion that Duvalier was gone, but he was not gone because Baby Doc Duvalier had selected the new government that was going to replace him. And the strongman of that government was the chief of the army called Henri Nafi. Today, I mean, we mentioned that a few months ago, 5 months exactly, the president of Haiti, Jovenel Moïse, was assassinated. We said that he was no angel, all right? And when Jovenel Moïse was elected about 4 years ago, you know, the first thing that he did, he went to the Dominican Republic to meet with the former military dictator that replaced Duvalier, you understand, to invite him to his inauguration, to invite him to come back to Haiti. It's almost like Hitler was alive somewhere and then somebody had, you know, gone to him to say, why don't you come back in Germany? You know, huh? The door's open. So, okay, so the theme of that conference is not only, you know, the history of Haiti. I just wanted to give like a context, a global context, but I wanted to talk a little bit literature. You know, why do I write? Okay, my journey as a writer. What do I write? I write to keep memory alive. One thing that a flaw that we have as Asian is the tendency to forget. And when we forget, we tend to make the same mistakes. You see, we forgot that the Duvalier regime was the most violent in the history of Haiti. And today, the grandson of Pap Doc is basically candidate. He wants to return. And he started to have some kind of popularity. Why? Because people forgot. And people have even a tendency to say, oh, under Pap Doc, things were better. You know, young people were born in 2000, you understand? They have no idea what Haiti was like under Duvalier, or what Europe was under Hitler, for example. They think, oh, under Hitler everything was fine. So why do I write? I write to share the traumatic experience of the past. But when we think we're talking about the past, we are talking about the present. The people who are in power in Haiti are what I call les enfants, the children of Pap Doc. Why do I write? Because silence is not an option. You know, as someone who was born in Haiti, who grew up there, who has experienced all these years of repression, of violence, I feel it's my duty to share that experience with the new generation. Because this is one of the main problems in Haiti. For example, in the Dominican Republic, they had a violent dictatorship also. They had Trujillo. But you know what happened? When Trujillo was assassinated in the Dominican Republic, they made a law. People are not allowed to speak in good terms about Trujillo. Just like what they did in Germany. You know, it's a crime. You see what I'm saying? To say that Hitler was a great man. You know, it's hate speech. But in Haiti, we never did that. You understand? We allow people to go back and to try to write history. So I think it's my responsibility as someone who has lived through that period to share that experience with the younger generations. Why do I write? Even though I've been living here for what? 36 years, I've spent more time here in the US than I spent in my native land of Haiti. But like the famous Russian writer Vladimir Nabokov said, the writer was leaving his country, he carries his country in that luggage. Even though I'm here in the US, but I still have Haiti in me. I brought Haiti with me, you know, here. And every day, of course, I am adjusting, you know, to the United States. I enjoy, you know, the privilege of going to school, of teaching, of having access to books, you know, of having, you know, I would say a decent life. But at the same time, you know, I don't forget. I cannot forget Haiti. I would like to forget Haiti sometimes, and to move on, to say, well, my country, my native land is doing well. I don't have to think about it, but I cannot. Okay? Every time the news, they come from Haiti, they are soaked in blood. Well, I also write to entertain. You understand? Because as a writer, you cannot be always talking about tragedy. You see what I'm saying? What am I trying to achieve? To have people cry? You understand about the tragedy? No. You know, I try to find some kind of humor in the political scenes also, because Haiti, you know, has that political scenes that is filled with a lot of funny characters. You know, people who they have one dream to become the next Pap Doc. You see, and this is one of the flaws that we have as Asians also. Okay, and somebody said that if you put two Haitians in a deserted island, they will create 3 political parties. You understand? There's that tendency. Okay. you know, to want, oh, I am the man, I am the party, I have my own party, it belongs to me, you understand? When I die, I'm going to transfer my party to my son. You see, that's the mentality, you know, the division, the unity that we had that allowed us to accomplish that feat, that independence. We tend to lose it, you know. Individualism, you understand, is one of the main flaws that we are dealing with. Okay, so I said, why do I write? Some people know at a very young age that they want to be writers. Personally, it was completely different from me, okay? When I was very young, what I knew is I did not want to be a writer, all right? For example, we have this gentleman, René Descipher. He's a very famous Haitian poet. He became a sensation at a very young age. He was about 22 years old, and he published a collection of poems. And this is something that is probably unique in the Haitian literature. He became very famous. His poetry was so amazing. So this is a guy when you're very young that he wanted to be a writer. Personally, I didn't want to be a writer. Why not? Why not? Because writing, at the time I was in Haiti, was a very, very dangerous activity. All right? Writing was perceived to be a very, very subversive activity. You know, if you are a writer and you are not a supporter of the government, you understand, your life is at risk. For example, in the 70s, we have I'm sorry. Yeah. Actually, yeah. Let's go back. Okay, very good. 1976. We have this young man, Gasner Raymond. He was a young writer, about 23 years old, brutally assassinated. And even though I didn't know Gasner Raymond, I felt it, in my flesh. I felt exposed. I felt very weak. Because even though under Pap Doc things were not as bad as under Baby Doc, things were not as bad, as violent as under Pap Doc, but every time, there was like a movement of challenge against the regime, they would react violently. And at one point, Baby Doc Duvalier said, "The son of the tiger is also a tiger." Just to remind people that I am the son of Pap Doc. You understand? And I can be as violent as my father. He said that publicly. Under Jean-Claude Duvalier, the situation was a little different. Less violence, but the fear never went away. I can share a personal experience with you. A Sunday, I went to a soccer match at one of the most popular schools in Port-au-Prince. The match is going to start, and I see 3 police officers coming. And then just the view of the officers created a panic, and everybody started to just go away. And I'm here and I'm thinking, what's going on? What happened? We are talking about 3 police officers. They didn't even pull their gun, but they came to intimidate, and everybody was flying. And I can tell you that I'm here, I'm standing, and I'm looking, and at one point I realized, oh, I have to run. I have to run also. And when I got out of that school, and I felt ashamed, I felt diminished. Here I am, a young man in my country. You understand? I'm a student. I didn't do anything wrong. I came to attend a soccer match, and I have to run, for my life. that people don't always realize is that despite the tragedy that we went through, Asian society always had like a very sophisticated school system. You understand? Even though it was a violent society, repression, but schools in Haiti were always very good schools. You understand? Of course, education was reserved to a minority, but that minority had access to a first-rate education system. And personally, I can say that if I became a writer, it's because I was lucky. I had the privilege of being, in Martissan at the house of this man called Victor Benoit. He was a teacher. He was a historian, a teacher of history. And I was exposed to a lot of Asian intellectuals, a dream team of thinkers. People were very, very sharp, very, very, very bright. And these are the people who contributed to my education in Haiti. So Asian, even though sometimes they poor, but they see education as something that is very important. They see education as a way out of poverty. Whether they are in Haiti, whether they are in the US, and they go to school, and a lot of times they take it very seriously because they know that the future is in education. Let's go to... when Pap Doc acceded to power, basically what he tried to do, he tried to exile, all the intellectuals, the thinkers, people who could be in the opposition. And the first time I saw someone stand up to the regime, I was a kid. It was a woman called Elizabeth Laforêt. She was my teacher, and Tonton Macoute, a boogeyman of Pap Doc, came and knocked on the door of the class, and that woman who looked like Angela Davis, she stood up. I was shocked, and she stood up, and she spoke to that boogeyman. She challenged him. She told him, "You are a barbarian." I couldn't believe that. Such courage. So we had that in Haiti where teachers, because teaching in Haiti at the time, especially teaching social studies, was something risky. Yes, so by the time I was 12 years old, and I was starting with secondary school, I was registered to the school of this very famous Asian writer called Franck Etienne. Franck Etienne is probably the most famous Asian writer of all times. He's a Renaissance man. This is a guy who's not only a writer, but he's also he's a painter. He's an actor, all right? And he writes everything. He writes poetry, he writes in French, he writes in Creole. This is somebody who was really amazing. And back at the time I was 12 years old, I was going to the school of this guy, and let me tell you, the guy is a monument. I remember I was a kid and I was looking at him. He was publishing all these books, and this is my first time seeing somebody who was a celebrity. A few years later, I went to another school, and it's the same situation. I'm exposed to very famous Asian writers. A lot of people were exiled by Pap Doc, but some Haitian, they decided, no matter what, they are going to stay in Haiti. They know that they could not engage in politics, but they were going to engage in education. You understand? Engage in education to prepare, for the future. We need a new generation of Asians. We need a new generation of people who are educated. And the teachers, the brightest mind in Haiti would be high school teachers. Can you imagine? We're talking about very famous writers, people who have published a lot of great books, and they are high school teachers. And I had that chance to be exposed to these great minds. For example, here, okay, we have Jean-Claude Field. I'm sorry. Carlo is from the neighborhood. This is somebody he knows very, very well. At the school, you know, near the house of Mr. Carlo Jean-Baptiste, we had another teachers of literature called Willie Philotette. You know, very powerful poet, very modern, you know, one of the best Asian writer in the 70s. Also, he was my teacher of Asian literature. Now, I had the chance to be exposed to these great teachers. I'm very grateful for that. And I wanted to become a teacher myself. I went to Teachers College in Haiti. Education was free in Haiti at the time, even though it's higher education was free. And I taught in Haiti for 7 years. I remember the first time I was coming to the United States in 1981. One of the directors of the school where I was working was concerned. He was thinking, oh, you're traveling, are you coming back? And he asked me, he said, are you coming back? And I felt insulted when he said to me, are you coming back? I'm thinking, why in the world would I want to live in any other country but my own country? You understand? I'm going to the US to visit, but Haiti is my country. I have an obligation, you know, to stay here, to teach here, to live here, you understand? And to contribute to, you know, change in my country. But a few years later, I took the decision of coming to the US in 1985. I was thinking, well, let me go. After 7 years, let me go see the world. Let me go spend a year or 2 years abroad. One thing that a lot of times people don't understand is that, especially people who don't like immigrants, we think that immigrants, they are dying to come here. But actually, people, they want to stay in their country. If we don't mess up their country, they will stay there. You see what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Let's stop messing their country and they're gladly, you see what I'm saying? Because, for example, Asians, they love their country. Huh? Personally, I was living in Haiti and I felt good. I was a poor man. I come from a poor family, but you know what? I love that country. You understand? And I did not see myself living anywhere else. In 1991, after 6 years in the US, I tried to go back to Haiti because we had an election, we had a president, you understand, and we thought things were going to get better. Oh my goodness, illusion, you understand? 7 months later, we have a brutal coup d'etat. I was there in Haiti, you know, and thousands of people were killed. And of course, the coup d'etat in Haiti, you know, lasted more than 24 hours. And we know that the United States has a big influence in Haiti. You understand? The American ambassador can call the head of the army and say, just stop it. Or go for it. You go ahead with that. You understand? So the US has that ability to make or to break in Haiti. You understand? I saw it myself with the Jimmy Carter regime. You understand? They put some pressure, and the pressure, they work, and sometimes they go in the other direction. You understand? They support the dictators in Haiti, and it's very unfortunate. To me, it's very misguided policy. So I said before that I write to keep memory alive. I also mentioned that there's an idyllic picture of the dictatorship. The situation in Haiti today is so bad that people say, well, you know what? Things were better. You know, under Duvalier, things were better. You understand? Okay. So my responsibility as a writer is to bring some clarity to the way things were, what I saw, what I experienced. I was a child and I was living in fear. I remember I was maybe 6 years old, okay, and the Tonton Macoute, the boogeyman, they came to my neighborhood, okay, to arrest a few people. And I saw the few people who were arrested, And I was about 6 years old. And I cried. I said, let my brother alone. Leave my brother alone. You understand? I was 6 years old. You know, why? Because I had an older brother, you know, every time we were talking in the house about him, because he was in the opposition, we feared that he was going to be arrested. And when I saw this man, you know, arrested, I thought he was among them, and I shouted, you know, to the boogeyman. So what kind of writing do I do? What kind of writing should I do? Should the writing be only political? Should the writing be historical? Or should the writing be academic? I started to publish articles in around 1990, 1991, you know, in Asian newspapers in Brooklyn. I started with sport because I was a reluctant writer, you understand? You know, I had that trauma, you know, from the time I was living in Haiti, even though I was living in the US, I didn't want to do writing. And then I move on to kind of political writing, you understand? Trying to analyze the situation in Haiti. And one thing that I realized when I was writing is that sometimes it's difficult to convince people with political arguments, with rational. It's almost like sometimes I feel that Haiti is still living in the Middle Age. You understand? We did not reach that century of rationality, you know, where you can make scientific arguments, when we can agree on certain things, to say, well, dictatorship is not good. We have to go forward to democracy. You understand? A lot of people in Haiti, they would tell, oh, things were better when we had the dictatorship. So while I was writing, I kind of started to do a little humor. I have to tell you that Asians are very funny people. You understand? Very funny. Sometimes you will not know that. It's not always obvious. It's not obvious. I remember the first time, you know, I was asking my son to do a business card for me, you know, and then I said to him, put humorist as my title. You know, I do humor. And he said, what are you talking about? People are not going to take you seriously, you know? I mean, humor? I mean, you're not a funny man. But I realized that this is something that works. You see what I'm saying? I mean, if you want to challenge power, making fun of them, making them look ridiculous, that's one thing that works well in the Asian community. And in a way, I had to reinvent myself. Forget about that rationality, forget about these papers, you know, that are very articulate, you understand? Okay, let's have some fun, you know? Let's expose them, you know? Let's show to the public that we are dealing with caricatures. These are not human beings, they are caricatures. So this is when I started to do that political humor, and I wanted to find my own voice. I did not want to become a writer just to become a writer, just to add a new book to the Mount Vernon Public Library. You know, you have millions of books like that, you understand? And like the famous American writer Bukowski said it, don't do it. You understand? That don't add another bad book to the library. So I waited. I wanted to take my time to find my own voice. Yeah, a voice that would be distinctive. So when someone takes a book that I write, he can see, this is, you know, I recognize that voice in that book. So a lot of books have been written about the Duvalier regime, you know, so why write another book about it? So I had to kind of reinvent, you know, the type of writing that was done about Duvalier. Most of my books are written in French. I've published 5 books in French, but the French that I use is, I would say, a French with a Creole voice. You know, so if you are reading a book, for example, from me in French, you realize that I'm not a Frenchman. You understand? I'm not a black Frenchman, you know, I am Asian. All right? And you have to discover that voice. And the Asian public, they love that. You understand? While even you are writing in French, but they feel, you see what I'm saying, that originality. They feel the country. They feel the land. You see what I'm saying? In that writing. So in my writing also, I use some words that I create myself. For example, the capital city of Haiti is called Port-au-Prince. I started to call it Papadopolis. You know, it's like the city of Pap Doc. So I created a new term. So I do that all the time. So it's a way for me to fight the dictatorship of the dictionary. Forget about the dictionary. Sometimes you have to create, as a writer, you have to create your own words to express yourself better. So I take a poetic license also when I'm writing, because as a writer you have to be bold, you have to be adventurous, you understand? You don't want to be boring, you don't want to write like the average Joe. You want to create, you're not the greatest writer, however, you have your personal voice. People can, without knowing, you know, without reading your name, they can say, ah, I recognize that writing. Okay, so I create words, sometimes I use misspelling also. You know, I misspell a word voluntarily, you know, to create, you know, a better word. So, in the past few years, I've been very active. In 2015, this is when I published my first book in French. It's called Les Enfants Malades de Pap Doc. This is a book that took me 6 years to write, from 2009 to 2015. I remember my son used to make fun of me. You know, he would say, Papa, you know, Pop, how is the book coming along? Because it was taking me an eternity. I was in agony, you know. I wanted to write a book, but I did not want to write just a book. I wanted to have something really special, all right? So this is, in this book that is written in French, it's like a collection of short stories, and the theme that I treat is political madness. Madness, because politicians, they are mad, especially in the third world. Became the president of Haiti. He was selected by Hillary Clinton, who went to Haiti to impose him as president. So I decided that was a very interesting topic, and I wrote this book, also called Chronique de la décadence du chef suprême. All right. So I mentioned that before, and the crazy part is that there's a possibility that Michel Martelly might become president of Haiti again. So my question is Michel Martelly the favorite candidate of the United States? And when we talk about Michel Martelly, we are talking about the most despicable character in Haiti. It's almost like Hillary Clinton went to Port-au-Prince, to Haiti, and asked, who's the worst individual in this country? And they said, oh, it's Michel Martelly, of course. It's Michel Martelly, it's well known. And she said, this is the guy I want for president. You know? And not only that Michel Martelly became president, and he was invited to the White House, and Hillary Clinton and her husband, you know, they said it publicly. They said, we love this guy. It was in the newspaper. You see what I'm saying? It's not something political, you know, we just love him. And this is the kind of people they impose on Haiti. This is another caricature because, you know, I publish caricatures also. So this is in the same. In 2017, I published my third book. It's about a very famous professor of political science who was teaching in France, he taught in the Caribbean, he taught in the United States also. And he went to Haiti after the dictatorship, and he has his dream also. What is the dream? To become president in any condition. And when the elections were being held for the first time after Duvalier, it was 1987, when they realized that the Haitian people were going to vote freely, they attacked the voters. It was a bloody Sunday. They went to the poll and they shoot people with their Bible, people who had gone to church, you understand, after going to church, and they are so happy. For the first time in their lives, they are going to vote. You understand? After 29 of dictatorship. But you know what? The military government said to the American government that the person who was going to to win the election is a communist. You know? Okay. Of course, it wasn't true. You understand? But that's what happened in Haiti. Bloody repression. Let me try to finish. So aside from this book in French, I have worked with artists, Asian artists, you know, to create caricatures also. I often publish caricatures in the social media. Yes?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I looked.
Use the mic, please.
Sure. No problem.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the library director here, Timor Davis, and I had the wonderful opportunity of introducing the author. You have great topics, great ideas, great concepts in terms of books. One of the things that we do see is that Netflix and movies and what have you is really, really big. Have you considered actually licensing your books to movies or auction agreements or what have you?
Actually, to be honest with you, I never did. My son is always talking about this. He says, well, this is where you should be heading. You know, but I honestly, I am not there yet. You see what I'm saying? I'm trying to write, but my son is in that field.
Yeah.
He's in advertising. He does a short movie. Actually, one of his movies, what's the name again?
You love me.
You Love Me. You know, had millions of views on YouTube, and he's in that field. Maybe, you know, in the future he will. I convinced me.
It's just that I think it's a great opportunity for you to consider in terms of expanding your audience.
Yes. I'm an old-fashioned man, you know.
Well, he maybe got that option out for you.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's great material.
Yes.
And I look forward to purchasing the material for the library. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you very much. I'm finishing in 2 minutes. Yes, so when I started to publish in 2015, I realized that I need that contact with the public. You know, I don't want to publish a book every 2 years, and then for 2 years I am absent. You see what I'm saying? I want to have that intimacy, you know, I have to have that contact, permanent contact with the public. And what would I do? I would publish like short stories, you know, things that are funny, that would amuse people about the politicians in Haiti. And I started to work also with some Asian artists, you know, young people. I mean, Asian people are so gifted, you see, huh? I mean, they do amazing stuff. And I contacted them. I said, well, why don't we work together? You are a great artist. You can do very beautiful images. And I'm a writer. I'm a professional writer. You understand? If we combine our effort together, we can do great work. And this is something that was never done, like in Haiti, you know, to have the collaboration of a writer with professional artists. So I started to publish these caricatures. They were well written, the images were beautiful, and people were amazed. And with the social media, you know, you publish something on Facebook, and before you know it, somebody was in France, somebody is in South America, and they already receive it, and they love it. You know, and they would sometimes put pressure. If I take a break for like a month, they would put pressure. What happened? Did you die? You know, we want this caricature. In the past few weeks, I've been absent because I wanted to take a pause. People will contact me. We want these caricatures. You have to continue doing them. So that's how I published 2 books of caricatures. Every book has 100 caricatures, and I have chapters, and each group of caricatures is also introduced by like a short story, you know, something a little funny. But I can tell you, I am not an artist myself. My son is. I wanted to be an artist. I could not. But he, he saved the day for me. And these caricatures, they were done by a Mexican artist that I've never met. This is the magic of technology, of the internet. We work together. We've been working together for about 3 years. I send him the ideas, and he creates the images, and I write the captions, and they are distributed, and I save some of these caricatures to publish these books. And the last book that I published, that was last year in November of 2020. I've been living here for 35, 36 years. I said to myself, I have to make that effort to write in English, you know, because the Asian story, the Asian experience should be shared with the broader public, because there are a lot of people who care about Haiti, not only Asians. And sometimes I find foreigners who love Haiti more than Asians themselves. You understand? A lot of people, they have a great deal of solidarity, and they appreciate Haiti. They appreciate what Haiti did in 1804, you know, and I think it would be a good experience to share these, you know, short stories with them. So that's when I published Tales from the Island of Pap Doc, and on the cover is the son of my son, you know, my grandson Ezra. He's a cute little boy, as you know. It's the sweetest things that you can imagine. All right, so I think that's it. I hope I didn't speak too much. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much. And I'm ready for your questions.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. I wanted to ask you, I think you said it was, what leader was it? You said Hillary Clinton came in and basically installed him. Was that, my question is, was that when she was First Lady or Secretary of State?
She was Secretary of State of Barack Obama at the time. She was not, yeah.
So that was recently?
That, exactly. We're talking about 11 years ago. Yes. And he went to Haiti and basically said to the president of Haiti, if you don't install this guy, we have a plane waiting for you right here. Yeah. Very heavy-handed, you know, policy. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for gracing our community with your experience and your wisdom and all your knowledge. So I have, you know, as a daughter of the Caribbean myself, I was born in Jamaica, and you see the legacy of corruption in government, and you see the efforts of well-meaning people trying to defeat that, right? And Haiti, yeah, as a, you know, someone who enjoys history, Haiti has always been an inspiration. When you think about, you know, all that was done and how long Haiti was a free republic, it's just really inspirational. But how do you process the fact that it has taken this long for the mental slavery to be lifted, for the minds of the people to be, to embrace their history of revolution and to understand that the power lies within them? And then I'll just give you one more question, as I thought about as you talked before, about the use of graphic novels, because now we have to really try to influence the minds of the young, yes, right? Yes. And perhaps that's where our hope lies. So if you would speak a little bit to why is it taking so long, right? I know that we will win. You know, those of us who are progressive, who believe in the good of mankind, we know we will prevail, but why is it taking so long in countries like Haiti and Jamaica?
Okay. Regarding Haiti, I would say that because the Haitian revolution was the first of that kind, because Haiti was a pioneer in the fight against slavery and colonization, and Haiti was able to obtain that independence in 1804 when Africa was not even conquered yet. You understand? Africa was not even colonized by the European, and Haiti was already independent. You see what I'm saying? So when we became independent, we didn't have like models to follow. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Of course, the U.S. was independent, but we said that before. It was a revolution from the top, the slave masters. So here in Haiti, we had a revolution from the bottom. And a lot of mistakes were made. I can give you one example. For example, when Haiti became independent, they adopted French as their official language. You see what I'm saying? Wow! The population in Haiti did not really speak French. French has always been a language that is spoken by a minority. It took Asian 183 years to accept the fact we're not French. You understand? We are Creole. We are Caribbean. And in 1987, finally, in the new constitution, we finally accepted Creole as one of the 2 official languages of Haiti. You see what I'm saying? So it took us a long time. For example, embracing our blackness. It took Asian more than 100 years to do that. Even though we were so successful with that revolution, we had the emergence in Haiti of a small minority, of people who were studying in French. You see what I'm saying? They think they were French men, French people with dark skin or light skin. It took the American occupation of Haiti in 1915 for the Asian consciousness to emerge, to say, well, you know what? We are not French people in the Caribbean. We are Africans. You see what I'm saying? And we have to embrace our true identity. So that would be my answer. I would say that because Haiti was the first and was a pioneer, we didn't have like model. For example, Jamaica. You could say, well, oh, Haiti was independent. Let's try to do something. For example, recently it was interesting to see Barbados becoming truly independent. You see what I'm saying? And Haiti paved the way for that. But when Haiti became independent in 1804, we didn't have any other country to look up to. And of course, mistakes were made. And Haiti has always dealt also with a lot of hostility. Hostility from the US, hostility from France, from England, and you name it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I want to thank you for a great presentation. I find it very interesting, while we live in America, which is not a dictatorship, though there are people that are trying to take us in that direction right now, I still find the same thing, the difficult to convince people, our people, with political arguments, like you said.
Yeah.
And they just don't get it. And what Sister Delia said about, when will we get it? That we're dealing with that here. We like to think the U.S., we like to think we're so much more advanced than everybody else, but a lot of what you're saying, I can relate to covering the Black community, period. As the editor of Black Westchester, I just wanted to tell you, it resonated with me, and I appreciate it.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So good afternoon, Brother DeRoche. Firstly, let me extend my gratitude on behalf of the organizers and partners of today's presentation, not only the Mount Vernon Library, but also Sister Delia Farquharson, Brother Jeff Monroe,
And
A.J.
Brother
Wilson.
John.
Yes, and so many others. So we greatly appreciate you sharing your insights. I have 2 questions for you. You reminded us of the danger of forgetting the past. And as a native-born African American, one of my concerns is the tendency of African Americans born in the country who are disconnected from the international diaspora to forget the role that the so-called Black bourgeoisie has played in the legitimation of American foreign policy in ways that undermines the international black freedom struggle. I think I speak for many in saying that one of the missions of this program is to try to recover that sense of internationalism that was very clear about the link between the struggle for black freedom here in the United States and the struggle for black freedom abroad. And so I wanted to know, because the rise of Pap Doc coincides with the emergence of the Cold War and the anti-communist purges under McCarthyism, I'm curious to know what you think the responsibility that civil rights leaders here at home who increasingly rejected communism and a broader vision of black freedom have played in the unfortunate tragedy that you have documented. That's my first question. And then the second question, one figure you didn't mention, with, at least for me, as a self-avowed leftist who had an opportunity to follow some of the developments in Haiti through Democracy Now!, where they chronicled the plight of the Aristide regime. I was curious to know, and for me at least, you know, I had placed much hope in Aristide's presidency because of his reputation as a man of the people. You know, where does he fit in the more recent dynamics?
Okay. All right. So the first question was about the Haitian regime of Pap Doc in regard to, let's say, the civil rights movement in the US. One thing that I have to bring to your attention is that the Pap Doc regime used the black movement for equality in a very perverse way. I said that blackness, you know, stood up. I mean, it's not me who said it. Amy Césaire, the famous Caribbean thinker, said, Haiti is the country where blackness stood up for the first time in this continent. And Pap Doc used that movement, you see what I'm saying, to establish his regime also. He wanted to project himself as the champion of blackness. You see what I'm saying? But just for political gains. And he even kind of engaged in some kind of ethnic cleansing. Okay. I forgot to mention that in the text. Because in Haiti we have a small minority, a minority of, let's say, light-skinned people, mulattoes. You see what I'm saying? But who are as good or as bad as anybody else. And Pap Doc was ready to go after these people. You see what I'm saying? Whenever you had somebody who was like progressive and belonging to that minority, it would just destroy their entire family. All right? So, answer, Pap Doc embrace and use the black movement, you see what I'm saying, for equality, for political gains. Saying, oh, Haiti, you see what I'm saying, we are the Black Republic, you know, and you have no lesson to teach us. That's the way Pap Doc would speak to the United States. You see what I'm saying? Actually, he wrote a book about Martin Luther King. You see, he was a great admirer of Martin Luther King. While he was killing his people, you see what I'm saying, and he was pretending to embrace the struggle. If Martin Luther King were Haitian, he would have killed him. But since he's American, he's fighting for civil rights, yes, he's saying, you have no lesson of democracy to give me. You don't even respect your own citizens. Look at what the black people are, you know, going through in the US. That would be the discourse of Pap Doc. He was a very smart man, I can tell you that. You see what I mean? He was a very astute politician. He knew how to manipulate, like the American. Oh my goodness. That's how he stayed in power. He manipulated, Americans, they wanted, you're talking about the McCarthyism, they were looking for communists. Pap Doc would feed them, everybody was a communist for Pap Doc. The second question that you asked, you mentioned Jean-Bertrand Aristide, the former president of Haiti. Actually, he was president twice. I have to say that personally, as someone who has lived in Haiti and experienced the dictatorship, I have a lot of respect for all the people who fought for freedom in Haiti. And Aristide was one of them. The first time I heard about him, someone in my neighborhood who was a Protestant going to a church, and she said to me, you know what? I'm a Protestant, but I go to a Catholic church every Sunday. You know why? Because there is a priest, who's preaching freedom, who's fighting the dictatorship. And on Sunday, I have to go there and listen to him, even though I'm not Catholic. So, yes, Aristide played a very important role in the struggle, against the dictatorship. And in 1990, December, he became the first elected president of Haiti, in a general election, the first free election. And I have to tell you, when it happened, I was very hopeful, and I went back to Haiti immediately. In February 7, 1991, when he was inaugurated, I was there. I was hoping that I could go back to Haiti, I could teach again, and I could contribute, to a new Haiti. But we know what happened. 7 months later, there was that brutal coup, and always that fear, a fear of democracy, a fear of the people coming to the scene. And they wanted to just, remove the majority of the population on that political scene. That's why Aristide was removed. I was there in Haiti in September of 1991 when he was overthrown for the first time. And I can tell you, it was really brutal. You see what I'm saying? He was accused of being a dictator. You see what I'm saying? But I saw what happened when they overthrew him. Oh my goodness, they went at it. It was with a vengeance. The boogeymen, they came back, to kill everybody in the street. You didn't have to be a supporter of the Aristide. All you had to do is be in the street, and they would just kill you. A few years later, Aristide came to power, and we know they didn't want him. He was never liked by the American. He was somebody who was very vocal, actually. You see what I'm saying? And at one point, he was accusing the U.S. of being responsible of the dictatorship in Haiti, and they never forgave him for that. And the second time he became president, he stayed in power for another 3 years, and he was removed again. All right? And that's the tragedy of Haiti, where if they think that you have that backbone, if you care really about the weakest, the poor people in Haiti, you're not going to last in power. They go to Haiti to support people who are completely unqualified. We had a good example with Michel Martelly. And when I'm talking about Michel Martelly, I don't know, I cannot even find someone in the US to compare to this character. Really? Can you tell me the name of a musician who's despicable in the US? Give me one name.
Lil Wayne.
I'm sorry?
Lil Wayne.
I'm sorry, I don't know him. But is it a male?
He's a young man, yes.
He's a young man, so he's a choir boy. Compared to Michel Martelly. All right, and this is the guy that they installed in power in Haiti. And if we're not careful, next year, he's going to come back. All right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank the library and anyone else who's had a hand in bringing you here to talk. I regret that I wasn't here from the very wanted to say that I'm glad to hear that you and your son have a collaboration on, because first you got to get it recorded somewhere and pay attention to what he has to say, because he knows about these platforms and stuff and how to get information out, and people need that information. And as a writer, I want to encourage you because you've been through a lot, but as you become more mature and you know about more things, you develop wisdom, and your analysis is probably more valuable now than it was 20 years ago. Wanted to just mention that I'm always interested in hearing, things about issues that are going on in the Caribbean and in Africa. I've had the good fortune to do a lot of traveling and all. And I happened to be in Haiti back in the early 80s when Baby Doc was in office. And I was just amazed, just in comparing the things that I had learned from Haitians that I had met here in New York, but also the reading and the whole bit. And I was just astounded by it. I happened to be there once on an Easter Sunday, and the people were in uniform. I mean, the young kids, nothing else was going on, but, the Christian influence in Haiti. But if you go to Algeria, I spent some time in Algeria, and a whole lot of time in Senegal, French imposition of their values, their religion, their politics on us.
Yeah.
And we tend to romanticize this, but it affects us in ways profound in our entire lives. We have to get beyond that and just not pay attention to them. Because, for example, if you're in Haiti and you speak French, I think the indigenous people would probably believe, well, hey, if you speak French with all of the sophistication, scratch, take that out. I didn't mean to say that. But if you sound French, like from France, they just assume that you're educated.
Absolutely.
If you are in Dakar, Senegal, and you speak French, the assumption is that, hey, this guy was educated in France.
Yeah.
If you are in Algeria, you speak French, and it's phonetically and all of the other kinds of things, the people believe that you were educated in France.
Yes.
So please pay attention to your son's input and all of the platforms, because we're talking global platforms, and people need to hear about all of the things you do. And one of the other contrasts that I always find when I go to countries is the contrast, the economic contrast between the people. Most of the people are economically, financially very poor. But then there's a handful of people at the top that are some of the richest people, some of the best doing people that I've ever seen. Like, for example, in Pétionville.
Oh, yeah.
In Port-au-Prince. The economy, when I last read it, was second only to Monaco. I've never seen such
Disparity.
Yes.
That's Haiti.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, here in the States, regrettably, youngsters from the Caribbean, Africa, and other places, they come here and get education.
Yeah.
They go to all of the, great universities, scratch. I didn't mean to say great universities. They go to the profound universities that the social system has made. And we don't get to know them. They don't get to know us. you know, one of the startling things that I try to share with all my friends, you know, whenever I see them, 65% of the black students at the major universities in the United States, talking Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and those kinds of schools, they are coming from Africa. 65%. And it's not an aberration. It's been like that for like the last 20 years plus. But we don't benefit from all of that because you take that Western education
Culture. Yeah.
and you integrate it with the indigenous experience. I mean, we would be on a whole different level. You know. So as a writer, I'm encouraging you to make sure as you write that you reinforce your
Authenticity, maybe?
yeah, and you know, because we need to hear that.
Yeah. I try to stay faithful to, you know, the Asian experience, to the Asian culture.
Yeah.
You know, to have a distinctive, original, I would say, Asian voice.
Right.
I started writing primarily for the Asian public, and I studied that public. I tailor, you know, the message to that public because I have a goal, you know, to reach out to them and to invite them to go back in time and rediscover, you know, what we went through. One of the questions that you address is one of the biggest problems in Haiti, that linguistic apartheid that we have. You see what I'm saying? Where, I mentioned that before, we became independent, and we felt that we were so French, that French had to be the official language, where French was spoken by just a minority. And until today, it's the same situation in Haiti. You know, very few people, have access to, you know, education, and education is primarily done in Haiti in French. One credit I would like to give to myself, you know, I would like to mention my even though I teach French in college, my son does not speak French. I always spoke Creole with him, so I would pat myself in the back.
You know, in developing countries, it's not the number of people who speak the language of the colonizer. It's the power of it.
Of course.
You know, because if you come into a place and you're speaking the colonizer's language, you get attention.
Yeah.
You get respect.
That's how it is. And it took us a lot of time to accept the fact that Creole is the language of the Asian people. You know, we have a minority who speak French, and they can do it well. Sometimes they do it better than the French themselves. They can write beautiful poetry, beautiful novels, you know, better than the French themselves. But we're talking about a minority. And if we're talking about education, we have to have something that is more democratic, that is, you know, available to the majority, because we cannot have progress and modernization in Haiti if we don't have education.
I have a question.
Okay.
You made a very important point earlier in terms of the impact of the 1804 revolution and its world impact. I know that there are some historical accounts whereby some people argue that a lot of the American revolutions, rebellions, if you will, that had taken place from Gabriel Prosper, the Seminole Rebellion, so on and so forth, was based on the impact of the Haitian Revolution. A lot of the slave masters in the United States of America was very upset and also scared or frightened to death of the Haitian Revolution and its success, not just here in America, but also its impact abroad in Europe and other places where they were engaged in slave trade and their interest, economic interest in Haiti, because Haiti was the world's largest producer of sugar cane, so on and so forth, and how the way in which the French had actually, when Napoleon went there, he actually had made sure that they wasn't able to produce that particular cash crop. So I want your sentiments on the impact of the 1804 revolution in terms of America and the world.
Well, the Asian Revolution was a big shock, you know, because at the time France was the most powerful, you know, had the most powerful army, the Napoleon army, that was victorious in Europe and even in Africa, in Egypt. All right? So the idea of a bunch of black slaves who did not have that professional training, you know, who did not have that experience, you know, at a big scale to have that victory over the French army was completely unthinkable. And we're not talking only about the French army. At the time, Haiti was the richest colony, and it's been even said that Haiti is the richest colony in the history of colonization. You understand? The French or the British, they didn't care about Canada. You see what I'm saying? I mean, even Louisiana, which was like the third of the American territory, was sold for pennies. They didn't care about that, but they wanted Haiti. Everybody wanted Haiti. You know, the French, of course, the Spaniard, they wanted Haiti. The British. At one point, Haiti was occupied by the three most powerful countries on earth: France, Spain, and Britain. And the Asian, you know, the slaves, the former slaves, they had to fight the three powers. And they had to be smart enough, you understand, not to fight everybody at the same time. When you take Toussaint Louverture, for example, at one point he's in the Spanish camp. You understand? He's fighting the French. He's having victories over the French. And then, French Revolution. Abolition of slavery. They say, okay. And then he abandoned Spain and he went, you know, in the French, you know, in the French army. And now he starts to fight the Spanish. So you really have to be very sharp and very smart to be able to make these maneuvers and to finally reach, you know, that revolution, to achieve that revolution that had two aspects: anti-colonial and anti-slavery. The American Revolution was anti-colonial. The Asian Revolution was both anti-slavery and anti-colonial. Yes.
Thank you so much, Professor Desroches. I mean, if I wasn't tied up with the tech stuff, I would be so riveted by what you're saying. In fact, I hope we can get you back.
Absolutely.
But you've tied in the last comment and the previous comment, you've tied two issues in that really actually intrigued me because I'm a Jamaican-born African. And I feel, and you know, I've adopted Mount Vernon as my place of not just residence, but struggle, right? Resistance. And as an African, I've come to the realization, you know, based on the shoulders we stand on, the work done prior to us, that there is an internationalist work to be done. So I think it's key that you said, you know, this issue of, you know, American imperialism being key to what's going on here. I mean, it's clear in the history. You know, you have people like Kwame Toure, you know, Malcolm X's mother, Garvey, Marcus Garvey himself. You know, you have the inculcation of international struggle placed here that reminds us that, you know, if Africans don't fight their colonization here, even Africans who come from abroad, if you don't help American-born Africans struggle against colonization here, you're going to fight the imperialism there.
Yeah.
So it's a struggle you're going to have to fight at some point. And so you remind me now with this question of colonization, something that I actually was able to refine under Omali Yeshitela of the African People's Socialist Party, that we're in a quandary now with capitalism in its dying days, it seems, so desperate that it's found brown-faced victims of its oppression to now effectuate its imperialism and its colonization here upon its indigenous and its African, its formerly enslaved people. So in terms of how to move forward with that, I've always been envious of my my Haitian-born African family. But how does the socialist question? I mean, we've seen it take off in, the Jewel movement with Grenada. We've seen it in, of course, with the Comandante in Cuba, and even at certain points like Manly in Jamaica. But mostly it's been defeated by the military incursions of the United States. But the point is, how do you see it grabbing hold in Haiti? How does that happen? Do you see it even happening? Is there a presence there in terms of socialist and anti-capitalist thinking to battle the imperialism?
Okay. That's a very good question.
Just to let you know, there's some refreshments here for you. Would you like
Okay.
water?
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. I can tell you that in the 70s, for example, when I was growing up as a teenager in Haiti, there was a hope that after the dictatorship, Haiti would take a turn, I would say, to the left, to a more progressive system. That was my belief, you understand? And we had that kind of struggle in Latin America, for example, in Nicaragua, with the Sandinist movement, in El Salvador, which is a country that is very similar to Haiti. And I was a young man, and I was a teacher, and I was contributing to the education of young people like Carlo Baptiste. He was in my team, okay? And at the time, we had reading groups of young men, young women, and we were contributing to that education, distributing books with a progressive agenda. However, Haiti has been a victim of, that repression. You see, they use the Pap Doc regime to really kill, any tendency, any aspiration, for like a popular government, for a progressive government. Even people who were very moderate in Haiti. For example, in 1987, someone named Gérard Cogue, he was a lawyer and he was involved in human rights defense. Someone who was very, I would say, center-left, okay? Nothing flamboyant about him, you see what I'm saying? Nothing very vocal about him, just a decent guy. You see what I'm saying? Who care about the people and who aspire to a more modern society where you have respect for human rights, you have a minimum. And he was presented to the United States as a communist. You see what I'm saying? And that's why the first attempt to have election after the Duvalier was soaked in blood. They kill people. They kill dozens of people on a Sunday. If you ask me, what is the likelihood of the emergence, of a progressive movement in Haiti? Let me tell you, it's been very tough. You see what I'm saying? And the United States is very, very involved in the Asian politics. And whenever there is anybody that appears to have some kind of progressive aspiration, they will crush that movement. I'm not saying that it's a fatality, but I'm telling you this is what I have experienced.
Professor, if I may piggyback on the young brother's question, who then would you identify as the natural, organic, or current allies of convenience of the Haitian people? So strategically, to reference the brother's questions, 30 years ago you may have looked toward the African liberation movement in Southern Africa, you may have looked to Cuba, you may have looked to the Soviet Union for strategic allies, who currently, both in terms of late-stage capitalism and the history and the relationship to the United States, who would you identify as being the natural, if not allies of convenience experience of the Haitian people?
My answer would be, this is something that we have to create, or something that we have to recreate. The situation in Haiti is so bad. The repression, the violence, the fight against any kind of progressive movement has been so violent for the past 60 years that to talk about even an embryo of progressive and I would say a movement from the left, you cannot really talk about that. This is something that needs to be created through education, to mobilization. You see what I'm saying? That's what I would say. For example, I can tell you, for example, in the 70s, even though we had that dictatorship, there was that attempt through education, like I mentioned, and not only in the schools, but in poor neighborhood. You would have young men, you would have young women, you would have underground reading groups of people who are open to everything. They would read Asian literature. They would read things from American literature. For example, we were exposed to Richard Wright, a native son. We would read Russian literature also. We would read Maxim Gorky. And we had that sophisticated, open approach to literature. We would read Garcia Marquez from Colombia. This is what I did with that boy. Okay, that's what we used to do in Haiti, you know. And we were passionate about education. We are passionate about learning. But the Asian society has been destroyed. You understand? The fibers of the Asian society has been repressed so much that we are dealing with like survival. You see what I'm saying? Okay, it's almost like someone today living in Haiti is not really thinking about the country. It's about personal survival. All right. So we have to work hard to create, you know, a new era where people would have that political consciousness, where they can make sacrifice, you know, for their country. I remember when I was living in Haiti, I was a young man, and I was reading about stories about guerrillas, like guerrilla fighters. I saw the story, for example, of a young man who was captured by the Duvalier, and he was killed. He was, killed in the cemetery of Port-au-Prince, and he had that picture. And I can tell you, when I look at that picture, I said, this is the way I would like to die. You see what I'm saying? And so today, you know, at that age, whenever I see that picture, and I see, wow, this is so beautiful. You see what I'm saying? To see someone, a young person who was 23 years old, who gave his life, his blood, and who was rebellious until the last moment. And I'm being very sincere in this. I envy him. You know what I'm saying? Even though dying is not, you know, what we're looking for, but to me, it was magnificent, that gesture. But unfortunately, we don't have that anymore, not at this moment. This is something that we have to create for the future.
Excuse me, Professor?
Yes, go ahead.
In 25 words or less, what do you think is a primary U.S. interest in Haiti?
Primary interest. That's a very tough question. Okay? Some Asians think that Haiti is a rich country. Some. I don't. You know, some people say that Haiti has a lot of resources. I don't know about that. You understand? I'm someone who's very pragmatic, very practical. You know, I'm not going to have illusions of riches underground, diamond or petroleum or gold. Some Asian, that's what they believe. They think Americans have vested interest in destroying the country so they can take hold of the, you know, resources. You know, some Asians go as far as thinking that the earthquake that happened in Haiti more than 10 years ago, that killed 250,000 of people, was initiated by the United States. I don't go along that line. I don't think so. You understand? I am not into that conspiracy theory. You know, I try to be level-headed. You know, I try to be fair. And what is the interest of the United States in Haiti? One thing that I have realized is that since Haiti became independent in 1804, there has been hostility. You see what I'm saying? Hostility towards Haiti. And one thing that I know is that it never changed. It has never changed. You see what I'm saying? It's almost like, to me, it's the default policy towards Haiti. You know? And it's almost like the new, people who are in charge in Haiti, they just go to the book, oh, this is a country that we have to destroy. So whether they are Republican or Democrat, they don't even think about Haiti. Or in the book, this is the policy since 1804, this is what we have to follow. You see what I'm saying? I can give you an example. In 1994, when Haiti was under the brutal military dictatorship that killed about 4,000 people, Joe Biden was a senator at the time, and he was giving an interview on TV, and they asked him about Haiti, and he responded. He said, if Haiti was to disappear, to go on the ground or go up in the sky, in what way that would affect American interest? That was his response. That's the way he responded. That was in 1994. And I'm talking about a time when Haiti was going through hell with the military dictatorship that was even more violent than the Pap Doc regime. Okay? And this is how he responded. From 1994 to 2021, what has changed? Nothing has changed. You see what I'm saying? We think, oh, we have a democratic power, they tend to be more, understanding or progressive. When it comes to the policy towards Haiti, it's been the same.
Could it be the geopolitical?
For what? Okay, for what? What's the tension? You understand? Okay, it's not like Cuba is going to invade Haiti. So, geopolitical, for what? To me, it's almost like a default policy. It's almost like a car that is like, how do you say that again? Autopilot. And that's the policy, and it does not change. And nobody's going to say, oh, well, no, we have to change things into Haiti. The United States could make positive changes if they wanted to do that. You understand? Just by stopping to support the boogeyman in Haiti. But they haven't done that.
Let me just ask, so are you saying that... Microphone? All right, I think you can still hear me on that way. So are you saying that as far back as
The success of the military success of Haiti against those three nations, Britain, France, and Spain, has set such a ripple effect in the world that is still affecting Haiti today, whereas they don't want to engage Haiti in any way whatsoever in terms of its advancement.
The American, the Asian Revolution was humiliating to the United States in a way. You understand? Because, here we still had slavery, and to have these black people, in that...
And it upset the main source of America's economy was the slaveocracy of America.
That's what it is.
And it upset that whole, because you had the Nat Turner Rebellion, which was very impactful. The Seminole Rebellion, which was very impactful.
Yes.
In terms of where, where slaves was thinking in terms of killing the slave master.
And I can tell you, for example, in 1804, when the Haitian became independent, they opened the door for other black people to come. You see what I'm saying? According to the Haitian Constitution, any black person from anywhere in the world who reach the shores of Haiti, they become Haitian citizens. You understand? Yeah. And according to the Constitution also, racism was abolished officially in Haiti. All Haitians are black. That was the Haitian Constitution. So that division that colonial model based on skin tone was destroyed.
And it seems historically the only country that was really supporting Haiti during the rebellion was perhaps Simon Bolivar, Venezuela in a lot of the Latin Americans was actually supporting Haiti in such a way where they was trying to make sure that it gets back on its feet, whereby the other nations did not support Haiti at all.
Well, yes, you have had that in the past, I would say 20 years, you know, some kind of solidarity between Venezuela, and you have had that from Cuba also, all right? Venezuela especially because they were grateful because the Haitian, they contributed to the independence of a lot of countries in South America, especially Venezuela, and the government in Venezuela was, you know, very, wanted to show some kind of gratitude and solidarity towards Haiti. Yes, they did help Haiti. Unfortunately, that help was, you know, being stolen. You see what I'm saying? I mean, billions of dollars. They're talking about $4 billion that could have contributed to a change, you know, modernization, you know, a departure from that poverty that did not happen, all right? Because we had in power people who were totally corrupt, you understand? And they had free access, you know, to the money, and they became multi-millionaire, and nothing happened. There is no pursuit or anything to try to get that money back. I'm not sure if it's 3:15 already. It's been 2 hours. You have another question? Yeah.
No,
I don't want to abuse your hospitality.
and we don't want to abuse yours either. So on behalf of everyone, I'd like to thank you for coming out and spending time with us. Please do consider Brother Jackson's invitation to